Hello everyone, DeeDee here today, and we are going to be making these affirmation ATCs using the underpaper that was left over from my project last week. So yeah, just sit back and check out what we're doing. We are using this stamp set by Donna Downey, and it comes with tons of sayings about beauty and imperfection is beauty. That's the name of the stamp set. And you can see here, I've taken my underpaper and I have used a big piece of watercolor paper, but I've used a Yoo-hoo glue stick to glue down the underpaper, and that makes it much stronger. I use newsprint as underpaper, and so it's very flimsy and tears easily. But here now I've glued that down and then cut it into ATC sized cards, about 3.5 by 2.5 inches, and I got a ton of them. As you can see there, I already have 6 of the cards done, and then in this video I will show you how to make the other 3. It's a set of 9. I'll show you how to make the other 3 and then go over some of the details on these 6 that are already done. I'll do that at the end. Here are the 3 pieces that I have left that I have decided to finish in this video for you. I do have other scraps left that I've set to the side too, and I'm not sure how I'm going to use them, but the underpaper that I had left from last week's class was so gorgeous. It has the Bloom Group stencil on it from Donna, and then in gesso, and then just some turquoise, and I guess it's a cobalt teal fluid acrylic, and some Payne's Gray fluid acrylic on it, and so it really created a gorgeous piece of underpaper, and I saved it instead of throwing it away and turned it into these ATCs. So I have put Donna's clean cushion stamps, and clean cushion means that they have a cushion on the back of them that will cling to an acrylic block. So I got out my acrylic block and I mounted those stamps to my block and stamped those in an archival ink. It's the new distress colored archival ink by Ranger and Tim Holtz Black Soot. I just bought a blank DIY ink pad and filled it completely with the distress colored archival ink. And now I've gotten out some some cheesecloth, and you can pick up cheesecloth in packs anywhere at any store that has any kind of kitchen type things. You get at Walmart or the dollar store or anywhere else. I'm using the same colored teal that was on the underpaper to color my cheesecloth, and I put down a little bit at first with some water to dip the cheesecloth in so that the cheesecloth was already sort of wet, and then I added another little dab of teal directly to the cheesecloth to intensify the color. And I'm going to heat set this just with a heat tool. Be sure you don't hold the heat tool in one place too long. Similar to paper, cheesecloth, it's very thin. It will burn quickly, and I have done some really great techniques with that where it ends up kind of burnt and off-colored a little bit, but that's not what I was going for today. I already stamped the Imperfection is Beauty stamp at the bottom of this portion of the ATC. And then I put down that teal cheesecloth, and now I've got a piece of May Arts crochet ribbon, and this is probably my favorite ribbon from May Arts. It's kind of got this beautiful vintage feel to it, but the part that I love is I can just snip off some of the edges and then really distress it, and it looks more like tattered lace that way. I really, really enjoy that technique. And now I'm getting out some vintage buttons, and I'm going to layer 2 of them. One bigger sort of plastic button on the bottom, and then kind of one of the shell type buttons, the vintage shell buttons on top. And I'm just gathering some thread and a needle, and I tend to use a contrasting color when I'm doing thread and needle. I did just take my ATC to my sewing machine, and I used white thread just to stitch back and forth to make sure all those loose fibers were held in place. I could have used a glue, but stitching is just as permanent, and it's quicker when I'm working with fabrics. And I sew on paper a lot too, and you'll find that in this set of ATCs especially, my sewing machine has been used a great deal. Now I'm just threading those two buttons together with some black thread. I mentioned I like to use contrasting thread. So I am just hand stitching those buttons together through their holes, and I'll tie them in a knot underneath, and then I'll glue those down with some gel medium. And the reason I like gel medium is because it does dry fairly quickly. Not right away. It does take time, but I do find that it dries in decent time. I also live in the desert, so of course that matters. That plays a role in dry time. But I like the gel medium because it's going to soak into that thread and really adhere and bond to the thread that's through the buttons, as well as the fabric and paper if it seeps all the way through, that's already on the ATC. And gel medium also dries clear, so that's always a plus. And that guy's done. I have two more. And the thing that I'm loving the most about the underpaper is that I do have some cards that have that beautiful stencil, that Bloom Group stencil from Donna Downey, but a couple of these pieces that were more close to the edge have instead just got where some of my paint overflow went. So they have these kind of cool, just painterly backgrounds. Right now I'm going to do some masking, and I'm using masking tape to do some masking. This may not be the most efficient way to mask, but it gets the job done when I'm kind of in a hurry. I have inked up the stamp and then blocked out a couple of the portions because I wanted to layer them differently than the layout of the stamp. So I blocked out the bottom part that says Shakespeare and the second half of the stamp. Then I stamped it, and then I re-inked it, and now I blocked out the Shakespeare portion and the first half of the sentiment. And now I'm going to ink up the Shakespeare part and mask off the sentiment. And this just helps me place the stamp differently and create a different layout for the stamp than it was designed with. And you can save those pieces of tape if you want. They do have the stamp on them, but it is the sticky side. I just throw them away. And you could use washi tape or masking tape or post-it notes to mask with. There's quite a variety of products that are good for that. And I did sew a square around that Shakespeare saying on the middle ATC there. And then here I'm going to mask again, but in this one I will do generation stamping. So I'm going to ink up and then mask off the parts of the stamp I don't want. I ended up just wanting the word beauty from this one. So I stamp it once nice and heavy, and then with the ink that's left over, I stamp it all over off kilter. And it's called generation stamping, and that's where you keep stamping with the little bit of ink that's left over. And that's it for those three. Now I'll do, oh, there I was showing you the stamp set again. Imperfection is beauty, and it comes with lots of really, really great affirmation-based sayings. All about beauty, and imperfection is beauty, and beauty is everywhere. And it's just, I always find for myself that it's important to remember that. Showing you a couple of these cards, and then I'll do a quick run through through the photographs. We ended up with 9 of them. This one has the flower that was in the set, and this one I didn't do anything to. I just stamped and left it as is. There's some washi tape, some Tim Holtz tissue tape on here, and then I stitched around the edge. This one I combined 2 stamps and did some masking. This one is a piece of fabric that's been stitched across, and then I stitched a button on. This one, I really loved the Payne's Gray and the contrast of that white mare. It's crochet ribbon. Here's the generation stamping. You can see how cool that looks. There's the Shakespeare quote that I masked and just stitched around the quote itself. And then here's the fibers, the layered fiber one. And here are all 9 of them together. Thanks again for joining me today. See you in April.